Hi, Jessica.
Who the hell are you?
The woman who's going to save your life.
Hello. Yes, welcome, Spider Babies, to another episode of To Know Her Is to Fear Her, a Spider Woman podcast. I'm your host, Ray. For this episode, just myself. Saren is not here. But I thought I would take this opportunity as Saren is busy with some prior appointments. She has given me the okay to go ahead, and what I thought I'd do is I will do a Marvel Champions playthrough. Now, a few episodes ago, Saren and I sat down and I went through the Jessica Drew cards because for those that are aware of the game, it's a game by Fantasy Flight. It's a living card game. Spider-Woman is quite a unique character in it. She's quite versatile. Some would say she's quite powerful as well. And I got into the game about 7 months ago, and I've absolutely fallen in love with it. So I want to share the Spider-Woman aspects with you by doing a playthrough. And I thought, since there was a bit of interest from other Spider Babies, I thought it would be fun to do a video. I've been watching plenty of playthrough videos as well whilst trying to learn the game, and they are fun to watch. So there is a video version of this episode. There'll be a link in the show notes. Go check out the video version so you can kind of watch along visually. It would make a lot more sense. But anyway, I shall try to explain things as best I can for all those listening to the audio. So before we get into any of that, of course, a big thank you to our Spider Baby patrons. Thank you so much for helping us support the show. Again, Saren and I have been on and off with trying to get a fortnightly show. It's just a little bit traverse, I guess, scheduling wise between the two of us. So please bear with us, and we really do appreciate your support. So what I thought I'd do, let us enter the gaming arena over here. So what I've got here is the setup to the game. And again, you can check it out on YouTube to fully understand how we play this game. Now, again, contrary to what I released earlier, I think in the week, I did say that I would have Jessica Drew, Spider-Woman, playing up against Venom. I thought that would have been really fun. But upon kind of further consideration, Venom's quite a complicated villain, and it would assume that really how to play the game for me to use Venom and to go through it. So there are a few more complex, mechanics to Venom. So what I thought is, instead of using Venom, we'll go with Rhino. Rhino is typically the entry point for anyone that wants to play the game. So as you can see here, we have the Rhino card. He's a brute. He's got two traits, brute and criminal. I'm Rhino. I knock things down. That's what I do. That's who I am, and it's a pretty cool card. You'll notice here. Let's get straight into the basics of it. You'll notice the name Rhino, and on the top right corner, there's a 1. So typically, all villains have 2 stages, and the idea for us as a hero is to beat them. They have health points. So Rhino, if you look at the bottom of the card, the hit points, they're called, Rhino has 14. So in stage 1, he's got 14. And then if we beat him, if we get it down, if we get his points down to 0, then it activates to his second stage, and we have to beat him again. I think it's hit points 18. So he's got a total of like 32 points that you have to beat him in order to win. That is effectively the only way that we can win. There are actually 2 ways that we can lose in this game. One is I'm just showing the Jessica Drew card now, or the Spider-Woman card. One way to lose is that we lose all our hit points as well. So you can see Jessica Drew, she's listed on the bottom as hit points 11, and she has a hand size of 6. So we'll get to the hand sizes a bit later on. So we could lose if Rhino effectively attacks us and whittles our points, our hit points down to 0. The other way we can lose is there's something that's always in play as well called a scheme. And there is a main scheme that the villains are aiming to complete. During the game, there are also side schemes come out as well. So they're kind of like little secondary moments or activities that the villain or their minions are carrying out, and you have to kind of stop them. Otherwise, there are, I guess, harder things that happen to you, so to speak. But sticking with the main scheme, this is the second way that we as a hero can lose. So we have to make sure that the scheme does not reach its threshold. And so here, the main scheme for Rhino is called the break-in, and Rhino is attacking a shield facility. There's a lot of writing on this card at the moment, as this is like a 101 starter episode. You don't need to really read too much of the contents, other than you can see that there's you'll need Rhino 1 and Rhino 2. And there is a Rhino pack of cards and a standard encounter set. And on top of that, you add a modular set, and they recommend Bomb Scare. So basically, they're just talking about the amount of cards that you put in the villain deck, which I will call the encounter deck. If I flip this over, I'll just show you quickly here. Yes. You can see, so in the break-in, Rhino is trying to smash through the facility wall and steal a shipment of vibranium. You must stop him. And you can see on the top left, there's a number there, 7. So that's the threshold. So what villains do is villains will scheme. And if I go back to the Rhino card, you can see some basic stats to his left. 1 scheme, and he has 2 attack. So every time Rhino schemes, he can scheme at least once. And if we reach 7 for the scheme, then we lose the game, because Rhino does actually do what he wants to do, which is break into the facility wall and steal vibranium. There are a couple other notes here as well, a couple of numbers on the card at the bottom. There's a 0, which means this scheme starts at 0, and there's a number there, +1, which means every round this scheme will tick over with 1. So regardless of Rhino scheming himself, every round this scheme kind of clicks over. So you really have to manage the scheme with what the heroes have, and I'll show you, is thwart. So that's a villain side, and as mentioned, so there's 2 ways that we could lose a game. And the only way for us to win the game is to take out Rhino, is to get his hit points down to 0. Now with Jessica Drew, this is a fun bit. Marvel Champions, it's such a cool game. So what we have with basically all superheroes is you have 2 identities. You have your alter ego, and you also have, if I can write this one, no. You have your Spider-Woman side. So you have your hero side and your alter ego side. If I go back to alter ego, we can look at this card here. The alter ego is a side where basically the villain can't attack you, because I guess thematically they don't know who you are. And yes, they don't attack you. So by staying in alter ego, you can have a little bit of respite. And they have a basic stat here. All heroes have a basic stat of recovery. And you can see in the Jessica Drew card, there's 3 recoveries. So basically, if our hit points are low, we have the opportunity to top up our hit points with 3 by an action that we enact with Jessica Drew. And I might as well show that now. There's an action that you do that ensures that you don't just repeatedly do these actions, and otherwise, people are just, you become too powerful. So what happens once a round, if your hero is upright like this, they are able to use their basic stat. So if I was in a Jessica Drew side card and I was down to say 5 hit points, if I wanted to top up with another 3 to get it back up to 8 to get me a little bit healthier, I would exhaust the card. And so they call exhausting the card, you just tip the card to the side. And that means once you've done that, that indicates that you have used your basic power, and you have to wait until the end of the player round, the player phase, in order for you to ready up. So similar, if I go to Jessica Drew, Spider-Woman. Spider-Woman, as a hero, you have a lot more stats. You have 3 stats here, basic stats. And Spider-Woman's is 1 thwart, which is blue, 1 attack, and 1 defense. Now, thwart is kind of like the opposite to the villain's scheming. So if Rhino schemes for 1, and we add 1 threat to the scheme, the main scheme, which I showed the break-in, which if we get up to 7 is not a good thing. We lose the game. If Rhino schemes for 1, Spider-Woman can thwart for 1, which effectively means we take away 1 threat. So that's one of the hero's abilities. Second one, of course, is attack. So if I want to remove hit points of Rhino, if I want to attack him, I use my attack. And again, if I use any of these stats, I'll need to exhaust the card. And finally, during the villain phase, when Rhino has the opportunity to attack me, Spider-Woman has the opportunity to defend for 1. So say, for instance, I defend, and with the defense, like with an attack or a thwart, you have to exhaust. So I shift the card to the side to indicate that I'm defending. Rhino, say, will hit for 2, and I have a defense of 1, then I will absorb 1 of those 2 attacks, and I'll only be hit for 1. So that's what defense is. It saves you a little bit from the attack. So as I mentioned, there's exhausting and readying. So if I was to have Spider-Woman here, if I wanted her to thwart, I will have to exhaust her to put her on the side, and I'm no longer able to do the basic powers. Now, there are cards, of course, that we have in our hands, which you can use. She can further thwart, or she can attack. It does it regardless of Spider-Woman being exhausted. The card itself, she can do other stuff as well with the cards in hand. So I better explain also as well the sequence of events, a sequence of gameplay for each round. So we always every game starts in alter ego. So I'll start off as Jessica Drew. And what happens is I will have a chance to mulligan my cards. Basically, I get dealt 6 cards, and there's a chance to mulligan it, which means you have 1 chance to get rid of as many of the cards as you want and replace them with something else in the off chance that you get better cards. Now, I can mulligan all 6 of them, or I can mulligan 1 or 2. We'll get to that when I start the game. So say I have the hand now, then it's the player phase. So what I can do is I can play any of these cards in my hand, or I can use any of the basic powers that Jessica Drew has. Now, bear in mind, with heroes, you can, in the round, you can only flip once. So if I want to flip from alter ego to superhero form, I can only do that once this round. And so I guess I don't have if I do flip straight away, I don't have the ability to recover. Likewise, if I decided to stay in my alter ego for this whole round, then I wouldn't be able to effectively do any hero actions like attack or thwart. And a lot of these cards as well are very specific. So, say for instance, this card called Inconspicuous, it's a hero action. So, I need to be the hero in hero form in order to use this card. So, bear in mind, you can only flip once, but that makes things very interesting as well. Once I use all my cards and say, for instance, I've used my basic power, so I've exhausted Spider Woman. I've done whatever. I've taken some points off Rhino, or I've thwarted some of the threat off the scheme. Then we all ready up again. So there's the opportunity. We'll see it when I do the playthrough. Opportunity to get rid of cards before I get dealt a fresh set of cards. And then what you do is you'd ready up your hero, ready up any of your other allies, and then you're into the villain phase. Now, the villain phase is a 3-step process. Basically, essentially, it's number one, you will tick over one of the threat, as I mentioned. In the scheme, every round, it will tick over whatever that number is. And in this instance, at the bottom there, it will tick over every one threat every round. So that's step one. Step two, the villain will attack you. Or attack or scheme. So if I was in hero form, Rhino would attack me. If I had stayed in my alter ego form, then Rhino would scheme, because remember, villains can't attack alter egos. So that also includes, it's not as easy as Rhino's got 2 attack or 1 scheme. What happens is that the villains are dealt a boost card. And you'll see this, and every villain gets dealt this. It actually boosts their stat. So Rhino might attack for 2, but he'll get a boost card. He might get a further 1, 2, or 3 attack. He might be attacking for 5. All depends on what we draw from the encounter deck or the villain deck. The last stage is then you draw an encounter card. So you draw one of the villain cards from the villain deck, and it will have some sort of instruction, some sort of treachery. I might pull out a minion, which I'll get to minions and allies, and then we have to deal with that before the villain phase ends, and then we go back to the hero phase, and we start all over again. The best way to do all this, obviously, is to show you. But before we get started, I'm quite excited. Just a few things on housekeeping here. So again, not trying to get too much into it, because I just wanted to show you the gameplay, at least for this episode. Each hero in Marvel Champions, you have to choose up to, you can choose anywhere from 40 to 50 cards in your deck. 40 cards is the optimal, and you get Spider-Woman, and all heroes typically have 15 cards which are hero specific or identity cards. They are unique to that hero, and you can't use them for any of the other heroes. So, for instance, I've got one here in my hand. It's called Self-Propelled Glide, and you can see in the bottom right-hand corner there's a little face of Spider-Woman. This is a Spider-Woman card, so this will be included in her deck. There are 15 cards similar to this that must be in her deck and cannot be used by any other hero. Whatever makes up the rest of the 25 cards that makes up your 40 card deck, there are things called aspects. So you have a choice of, I'm going to call them using color as well, okay, just to make things easier. You have red, aggression; green, protection; yellow, justice; and blue, leadership. So red, aggression, their cards more angled towards making your hero more powerful in attack. If you want to really cause damage to the hero, then the aggression cards give you those extra cards, or those specific cards that make you attack. So the thwarting side of things are kind of left to what you have on your basic stats. Conversely, the yellow aspect, which is justice, is more geared towards thwarting. So all the cards that if you know that your villain is going to scheme a lot, and there's going to be a lot of threat on a scheme. If you think that you're more likely to lose the match by the villain scheming and completing a scheme, then you would fit out your deck with justice cards, with the yellow cards, and they can help add more thwarting ability to your hero. Green is protection. Now, the strategy of green is that the cards will protect you and potentially your allies a little bit more. And so the idea is that you last a bit longer, so you last longer to be able to thwart and to attack a bit longer. So that's a strategy for protection. And the last one's blue. It's leadership, and leadership is basically ally heavy. And before we get started, I really should mention heroes can have allies. They can have other superheroes as well, help them. They have less hit points, less health, because they're not really meant to hang around that long. They're only meant to help a little bit. Allies can help defend. They can attack and thwart as well. They can do the same things as your hero can do, but their health is a bit lower, so they're not meant to stay and stick around. Similarly, as I mentioned, the villains have minions, which are kind of like the ally versions for the villains. They come out. Some of them might protect the villain, so we can't hit Rhino. We have to attack the villain. We have to attack the minions first. That sort of stuff. Again, we'll get into that when we go in. But leadership, the blue deck, basically is ally heavy. It protects your allies, it augments your allies, and the strategy there is to use your allies and basically form a group to take on this villain. And that's a lot of fun too. So what makes Spider-Woman really unique? First, I might just go onto the alter ego thing. So each alter ego, little text in the cards here, and every hero does little things. Now, just quickly, Jessica Drew has the ability here to choose. Sorry, let me go back. Her action as an alter ego, because she is traded as Shield and a spy, is as an alter ego. Once per round, we can look at the top of any deck. So this might be helpful because then I might look at the top of the villain deck and go, okay, I know this is the boost card that's going to come out, and I see it's got 3 boosts, so I know it's going to be a heavy attack, so I can plan for that. So it's a little handy trait that Jessica Drew has as an alter ego. Now, the other text here as well, and what makes Jessica Drew very interesting, is that it's got a trait here as double agent, and it says here, choose 2 aspects instead of 1 during deck building. You must include an equal number of cards from those aspects in your deck. So as I mentioned, each hero deck comes out with their own hero cards, and you have to use 1 aspect. Again, the red, yellow, blue, or green, the aggression, justice, protection, or leadership. Now, with Jessica Drew, with Spider-Woman, and what makes us so versatile is that you get to choose 2 aspects. And for this instance, I have chosen leadership, which is blue, to help out with allies, and protection, which is green. I will tell you why I'm pretty excited by it, because I have a bit of a strategy, a bit of a fun theme I wanted to do here. So yes, the Spider-Woman has 2 aspects as opposed to other heroes that only have 1, and that makes her quite versatile. So I can chop and change. I could have made her red and yellow, to boost her aggression and justice, or I can have blue and red, her aggression and leadership. But I've chosen protection to kind of keep Jessica healthy, and I've chosen leadership, and I'll tell you why. Because the deck that I have built for this particular game, I've called it Carol and Me, or Carol and I. And so my strategy here, I'm hoping it will work, is that Spider-Woman has in one of her hero cards an ally already. It's Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel. Now, my strategy is there's a thing in this gaming community, you can create a Voltron deck, which basically means your strategy is to amp up an ally, just kit them out, make sure they never die, make them super powerful, and they really lend a huge hand in winning the game. So my intent here is to bring Carol out if I can, keep her on the board, amp up her powers so she's super strong. And so between her and Jessica, they can take out Rhino. So that is my intent for this deck. Let's see if it works. Yeah. And before we start, finally, I'll just flip to the superhero side. Now, for those that don't know, or for those that maybe know a little about the game, you might be unimpressed by Spider-Woman's stats of 1 thwart, 1 attack, and 1 defense. Someone like, say, Wolverine has 2 thwart, 2 attack, and 2 defense. Quite, so certain heroes, I think Spider-Man has 3 defense, so he's very good in defending. Thematically, he can jump around, he can avoid any sort of attack. But Spider-Woman has 1, 1, 1, and that may seem unimpressive, but in the superhero card here, it says superhuman agility, and it's called an interrupt. So when you play an aspect card, so when I play a colored card like blue for leadership, green for protection, our hero cards, actually we also have yellow and red as well. So we have all 4 of them. I know it's a little bit complicated, but the hero cards have specified that they also act as aspect cards. So long story short, we have the ability, it says here, when you play an aspect card, Spider-Woman gets +1 thwart, +1 attack, and +1 defense until the end of the round. So the incentive is, if I can use as many different aspects in one round, then I can amp up Spider-Woman's stats to literally, I could get up to 5 thwart, 5 attack, 5 defense, which is absolutely crazy. They're the highest base stats I think I've ever seen in any of the heroes. So she is incredibly powerful like that. So what you'll see me do, I'll go through it. I'll be trying to see if I can play as many different color cards as I can to make sure that her basic stats are augmented. So yeah, if I can get 1 or 2 different colored cards, that's at least 3 thwart, 3 attack, and 3 defense. That's pretty powerful. So basically, almost half an hour of explanation there. Hopefully that makes sense. We're about to start now, which is going to be cool. I will flip back to Jessica Drew, and let's begin. So what I will do first, as I mentioned previously, I will mulligan. So I'll have a look at these cards, and I'll see if I want to keep or get rid of any of them. Now, there's a whole strategy with this as well. So let's see what cards are good. Self-propel glide it allows, I should forget. I should explain this as well, actually, before I mulligan. Okay. Now we got the cards here. Basically, you pay cards with cards. So I get dealt 6 cards. As you can see, in each of the cards on the top left, there's a number, and that's the cost. Now, each card themselves is a resource. So if you look at the bottom left, don't worry about the color of it, but there's a little tag there, and that means that the card is worth 1 resource. So say, for instance, I want to buy this one, Reinforce Suit. I will need to spend 1 to buy it. So I'll need to get rid of or use one of these other cards to buy it, basically. And then I would discard. So I'll discard that one. So I'll spend that one because that's worth 1. And now I've got that card. Okay, so that's basically how you play these cards. I forgot to mention that. Okay, so let's get back to it. Let's have a look. What I'm going to do first round, of course, before we start, I have the ability to mulligan. And so I can get rid of as many cards as I want, or I can keep them all and see how we go. Self-propel glide, that allows Spider-Woman to ready up. So if I have used my basic attack, and I've exhausted my card, by using this card, I can actually ready Spider-Woman again, and so she can attack or thwart again. Pretty handy. Don't know if I need it this time. This other card here, which is a blue card, a leadership card, is called Reinforce Suit. This actually attaches to an ally, and it gives them 2 extra health, which is good, but I don't have, pardon me, my throat is getting a little itchy now. I don't have an ally at the moment, so there's no point in keeping this card. Next one is Armored Vest. It's a green card, a protection card. So if I play this, then remember, if I play this, I buy it and I put it on the board, then I will boost Spider-Woman's basic stats up 1. So she'll have 2/2/2 for thwart, attack, and defense. This basically gives her even more defense. So if I play this round, she'll have 2/2/2. She'll have 2 defense, but she'll have another +1 defense. So she'll have 3 defense. And this one will remain. So, in the new round, when her base stats go back to 1/1/1, it would actually go back to 1/1 and 2 because this card gives her that extra defense. Kind of good. Yep, might be worth keeping. The other one here is a yellow card. Now, this is one of the hero cards, but it has a special text here that says the card is both a Spider-Woman card and a Justice card. So it is actually an aspect card. So if I play this card as well, I would boost another 1 +1 to thwart, attack, and defense. So if I played the green card and the yellow card this round, that would mean +2 for each of her stats. So Jessica would have 3/3/3 stats, which are pretty good, and actually 4 for defense because this green card gives her +1 defense. This is Night Nurse. This is pretty cool. She kind of heals up. Jessica gets rid of other things on her. It's good to note that if I play another green card, and if I've played a green card before, I don't get more on her base stats because I've played 1 green. That means that augments her stats only once. Finally, and I think I can do away with that one. Don't need that one yet. Don't need self-propel glide and leadership skill. It's good to have. It's a support, and what it does is if I do have an ally, I can use this to actually amp up their thwart and their attack. But what I'll do is, because it's the first round, I want to see how I go. I'm going to get rid of that as well. So I might just hold on to the Armored Vest and Inconspicuous. So let's see what we get. Okay, so these are our cards now. We have to start. So no allies have come out, which is unfortunate. I've only got Carol as an ally, so I'm hoping she'll pop up soon, but she's not here at the moment. So what I'll do, I'm going to use her ability, Jessica Drews, to look at the top card of any deck. So I might go look at the top card of the villain deck just to see what it is. Oh, and it's that. And so what it has, if you look at the bottom right-hand corner, there are 2 boost icons. So I know that this first card will be a boost. So it will be +2. So there are 2 little icons at the bottom. So when Rhino attacks, he's going to attack for 4. So that's just handy to know. So if I have a defense of 4, then that'll be pretty good. Okay. Now I've got this Inconspicuous, this thwarting card again. I can remove 3 threat from a scheme. Since we've just started, there's no threat on the scheme at all. This is useless, so I'm going to use that as a resource. What I might do is I'll flip straight away to Spider-Woman, because there's no point in staying in Jessica Drew. Oh, or is there? I could be a bit cheeky. Actually, I might go flip back. I'll stay in Jessica Drew, alter ego, and I might just try to build up my engine, so to speak. So I'm going to build my Armored Vest. I'm going to add that in. So that costs 1 to boost my defense to +1 defense. I will use this card because we're not going to use that in this round. I'm not going to use Inconspicuous. There's no threat on the scheme. On me. Okay, so I've got 1 there. What I might also do is I'll buy this med team. Now this uses 3 medical counters. Now, if ever I'm in trouble, I can remove one of the counters and exhaust this card, and I can heal 2 damage from a friendly character. So that means from either myself or an ally. I might use that because it's candy to have. It's costing 3, as you can see on the top left. So I have 1 resource here, another resource here. This is a special resource card, energy. It's called a resource card. And as you can see on the bottom left, it's got two little tags, two yellow. They're actually energy icons. So there are different sorts of resources. We'll get into that later. But all you need to know is that that's two. So I can actually buy Med Team for 3. I'll spend that resource card, which is worth 2, and I'll get rid of. I might get rid of Self-Propel Glide. So I'm just left with this one, which is okay. I think that's good. I'll keep on. I'll hang on to this one. So I'm left with one of Spider Woman's cards. It's called Pheromones. It is that the action is to stun and confuse an enemy, which is pretty handy, and I'll get to that when we use it because I'm planning on using it. I'm going to hold on to that card. I'm happy with getting Armored Vest and Med Team. Jessica doesn't really have to do anything. I know that the villain deck has 2, so 2 boost. So we'll get to that, and that will go onto his scheme. But I think we're okay because Rhino's scheming. He's not very smart. He's only got 1 scheme. All right, so I'm done. I will call that the round, and I get dealt another fair few cards, 6 cards there. So now it is the villain phase. As mentioned, the first step of the villain phase is to add 1 threat to this scheme. So I'll add 1 there. Now I know that Rhino is going to add 3 to this because Rhino will scheme for 1, and we have to draw that first card. And I know that there's got 2 boost icons there. So that's scheming for 3. So I'll have to add to that 1, 2, 3. And as you can see, it's up to 4. Now there's a little bit of a risk here. If I do draw a card that says the villain can scheme again and he gets a really big boost, then it's game over already. But I'm willing to take that risk. So we're up to 4 threat on the scheme. Remember 7, and we actually lose the game. But now we're up to step 3 of the villain phase, which is the encounter card. So let's see what this card has for us. And oh my gosh, it's a card that I didn't want at all. It says when revealed the villain schemes. So hopefully Rhino will scheme again and he'll have another boost card. Gosh, if Rhino gets 2 boosts, then it's game over. Basically, it's a very short game. God, let's just see. It's all gone pear-shaped. Okay. So Rhino's scheming for 1. So this is going to get to at least 5. If this boost card has 2 boost icons, that will bring it up to 7, and then we're dead. So, oh my gosh, thankfully, as you can see, there's nothing on the bottom right. So we ignore everything on this card. We just look at the bottom right, and there's nothing there. So he just schemes for 1. So the scheme's up to 5. The threat is up to 5, sorry. So we'll have to manage that straight away. So that's the end of the villain phase. We go back to the hero phase. Now, the only way to thwart, to get rid of that scheme, is to get into the hero form. So I'm going to flip straight to Jessica. Now, remember, she's only got 1 thwart at the moment, but I can build that up. If I play different color cards, I can potentially get this happening. So I'm planning on what we'll do. I'm going to use a blue card. I'm going to use this because this is I can stun and confuse Rhino, and this is both a Spider-Woman card and a leadership card. So it is an aspect card. So I'm going to use 2 here, and I'm not going to use. I already got a med team, so that's in my hand. I'm going to get rid of that, and I might get rid of. Well, actually, hold the phone, Fred. There's another one there. Oh, okay. I'm going to change the plan. I'm going to bring out Med Team again. I'm greedy. I'm going to buy another one. Oh, so hang on. Sorry. What do I want to hang on? Hold the phone, Ray. Getting too carried away. Let's pay for this blue one first. Okay. So we don't have an ally, so I'm going to use that. And I'm going to use self-propelled again. So I've used in the blue. So here we go. So I can stun and confuse Rhino there. I'm going to put this card just to the side here so we remember. So now my stats are 222. which is pretty cool. So I've stunned Rhino, so I mean he can't attack in the next villain phase, and he can't scheme for the next turn if ever he schemes. So these cards are really cool. So if a villain attacks, then you just take off this card and nothing happens. They don't deal any damage. If the villain schemes, just take off this confused card and no scheming happens, which is so it's really cool. It's a very powerful card. So Jessica's stats are on 222. I reckon we can make it one more. I'm wondering, this Call for Aid is a leadership card, and I will discard cards from the top of my deck until an Avenger ally is added. Then I add it to my hand. That would be Carol. Now, the problem with that is that if I discard and she's at the bottom of the deck, then I go through all my deck, which is not too bad. It just means that there's a slight penalty for having to reshuffle your deck and refresh it again. I might actually go for another med team. I'm greedy. So I can pay for this because it's worth 3. I'll use this blue card. And I need to pay for 2. Now, this is a special card, the Power of Protection. Double the number of resources this card generates while paying for a protection or green card. So since I'm paying for the med team, and I've paid 1 at the moment, this one is worth 2. So that equals 3. So I'm able to pay the med team, costing 3, with this Power of Protection card, which is worth 2 resources, plus the that one other card that I have left. So that brings, since I played a green card this round, so remember, I played green cards before, but that was in the previous round. So that doesn't count for augmenting Spider-Woman's stats. I played a green and a blue card, so Jessica's stats are now 3, 3, and 3. So what I might do, I'll just get rid of that. I'll get rid of the pheromones card. Doesn't need to be on the board. That was just our reminder. I am going to thwart for 3. So I exhaust the Spider-Woman card, put her on her side, and I take 3 of these threats off. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so Rhino threat is now a lot better, down to 2 again. Now, since I've flipped to Spider-Woman, I can't flip back to Alter Ego. I have to stay in Spider-Woman form, for better or worse. It's looking good though, because Rhino is stunned, so I know his attack is going to be nothing. So I'm quite happy to stay in this. In this form. Okay, so that's the end of our turn. We can't do anything else. We have no more cards, so I'm going to ready up, deal myself. Now you'll notice as well, Spider-Woman heroes have slightly less cards in their hand. So in the bottom left, it says hand size 5, whereas in Alter Ego, hand size 6. Jessica Drew has 6, but since I am still in superhero form, at the end of the round, I have to deal only 5. So I've got some 5 cards there, which look pretty good. But we'll worry about that later because it is a villain phase. So, first thing first, stage 1, the scheme ticks over just 1, so it's up to 3. Now, Rhino will attack because I'm in hero form, but I don't need to defend or anything like that because Rhino is stunned. So all I do is remove the stun card. Pretty easy, no damage taken. And that attack phase is over. And the last stage is to deal an encounter card or a villain card. Let's see what I have to do. Caught off guard. This is a bugger of a card. When revealed, discard any upgrade or support you control. If no cards were discarded, this card gains Surge. And Surge means basically you just draw another card, another encounter card. Well, I do have 2 supports and I've got 1 upgrade. I've got 2 med teams, which are very valuable because they will help me heal. I will not discard any of them, so I will have to discard my armored vest, which is a shame. So I take that off the board, which means I'll no longer have that extra defense. This round, remember, I played 2 cards, so my stats were actually 3 thwart, 3 attack, and 4 defense because I had that armored vest card. But now I don't. So back to just having even stats. So that's the end of the villain phase. Pretty easy. Now again, that threat is looking pretty ominous. Again, I don't have any allies, which is I don't have Carol, but I do have this card here. This is a leadership card. It's worth 3, so it's quite expensive, and it says if each of your characters has the Avenger trait, and Spider Woman does. Spider Woman is an Avenger, and so is Carol. Each ally you control gets +1 thwart and +1 attack. So that's pretty good, actually. It costs 3 to actually amp Carol's powers. It might be worth investing, but the problem is I don't have it yet. So I don't really need that yet. This is an aggression card. It's a Spider Woman card, but again, this card is both a Spider Woman card and an aggression card. So if I play this, it will boost my stats to 2/2/2, 2 thwart, 2 attack, and 2 defense. But this also, cost of 2, deals 5 damage to Rhino, which is pretty juicy. I'm leaning towards that. And then I've got some other cards here for allies, but again, I don't have Carol out. This card, Muster Courage, is costing 3, and it will give me a tough status. Tough basically means I won't take any damage. I'll just have to remove the card, so that's a nice little protection. But it's 3. It costs a lot. So what I might do is I might boost my stats to up 1 to 2. I'm going to play this red aggression card. I will use... I've got another power of protection that doesn't help me, and I have that green Muster Courage I'm not going to use, so that's 2. So this deals 5 damage. Yes, baby. So I take 5 off Rhino. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I discard this card. Now remember, I've got a boosted base stats now to 2/2/2. What I might do now is I might thwart for 2, because my base stat 2 and it is now 2 for thwart. So I take it down to 1. And then what I might do, since Rhino has a confused on him, the Rhino schemes remember when I'm in alter ego. So I might flip to alter ego, forcing Rhino to scheme, but he's confused, so I know that he can't scheme. So this is how you kind of work it. And I think that will almost end my turn. I'll get rid of this card. I'm going to hold on to... So I'll get rid of Inspired, which you're meant to attach to an ally. I don't have an ally yet, so I'm not... I've just discarded it. I might hold on to Mighty Avengers in the off chance that maybe Carol does pop up soon. Carol is expensive, though. That's the only problem. I might just get rid of it as well. Let's get rid of both of those. Okay. Let's get a fresh set of 6 cards. So our turn ends. That's it. Let's ready up. Yes. Okay. Still no sign of Carol. Come on, Carol. Where are you? Okay. That's all right. Jess has to do it alone. Okay. So now it's a villain turn. Again, I will... Stage 1 is to tick over the threat. So that goes up to... So there's now 2 threat on the scheme. Looking pretty good, though, because Rhino is now in stage 2 of this phase. He's got a scheme, but remember, he's got a confused card. So all I do is remove that confused card, and nothing happens. Now, the last step of the villain phase, I've got to draw an encounter card. Let's see what it is. Too bad. Hey, now Stampede. When revealed, if I'm in alter ego, this card gains Surge. So this card does nothing. I get rid of it, and I draw another one. Let's see what it is. Ooh, okay. Now this is called Charge. This is an attachment. So I will attach this to Rhino. And what this does is it gives him +3 attack. So meaning he's got 5 attack plus whatever boost he'll get. When Rhino attacks, this attack gains Overkill. That means basically if you use an ally to defend and there's excess damage that will go past the ally and straight onto Jess as well. Excess damage to there it is, writing. Excess damage to an ally from this attack is dealt to that ally's controller. But at the end of this attack, discard this card. So this charge only happens once, which is good. Thank God, because that's a lot. He's got a massive amount of attack now. That was the end of his turn. So we click back to the hero phase. Now it's our turn. So bearing in mind, Rhino's got a lot of attack. Look, you'd think maybe if I stay in Alter Ego, but the problem is if you stay in Alter Ego, I can't attack Rhino, or I can't take any more a threat off the scheme. So I'll have to look at the cards I have and see what I can do. Now these cards aren't looking too good for me. Basically, okay. Now what I can do, I can do this. Oh, actually, might even use this. I've got some protection cards here, the green cards here that will protect me because I know a big attack is coming. Because I'm going to flip. I am going to flip. It's too much of a risk if I stay in Alter Ego. If I stay in Alter Ego, the scheme will click over to 1, so 3 out of 4 threat. Rhino will scheme. I don't know. I don't want to risk that. I don't want to make this threat go too high. So I will be flipping to Spider-Woman. Now it's all about if I can boost her stats to do stuff. So let's look. This card is Deft Focus. It's an upgrade. It's only worth 1. That's kind of cheap. And when I use it, I can reduce the cost of a superpower card by 1, which is handy. I have Force Field Generator, which is a protection, a green card. It's worth 3 though, but that will protect me. That will actually protect me against Rhino's big attack coming up. Because when you would take any amount of damage, remove that many energy counters from this Force Field Generator. So it's got 6 counters on it. So if Rhino, attacks me for 7, then at least I'll be protected 6 of those 7 damages. So that's pretty handy. Or I could do Muster Courage here, because this will give me a tough status. So if I do this, then any attack on Spider-Woman, I will take no damage at all because it's a tough status. But it's worth 3, so it's a bit expensive too. Inspiring Presence, that's again for an ally. I don't have an ally. Med Team, I've already got Med Team. And Quinn Carrier. Quinn Carrier is cool. It actually will generate a resource every time I need something. But I don't need to generate resources now. I need to protect myself. So what I will do is I think I will. It's either one of these, one or the other. I think I'll buy a Force Field Generator worth 3. So I'm going to use any of these cards. I'll spend 3 of these cards. 1, 2, 3. So now I've got a Force Field Generator around me, which is pretty cool. And what I'll do is I'll buy Deft Focus. That's always handy. So if I can play any of my superpower cards, it will cost 1 less, which is very cool. And I'll use that last card I have, Quinn Carrier, to pay for that. So since I played a green card, my stats go up to 2, 2, 2, 2 thwart, 2 attack, and 2 defense. These grey cards are basic cards. I forgot to mention them. They're not aspects. They're just kind of fillers. They have some pretty cool cards in there. So you can choose to use any of the basic cards to make up your 40 card deck. So between an aspect and basic cards, you can fill out the rest of your deck after your hero cards. Okay, so I've got 2, 2, 2. I might just thwart for 2 to get that no threat now on the board. Yeah, I think that's good, and that's the end of our round. I can see Carol. There you are. There you are. Okay, the fun will almost begin shortly. Yeah, cool. All right. It's a villain phase now. So one scheme goes on. Oh, sorry, one threat goes on the scheme, regardless. That's stage one of the villain thing. Now we have the attack. Now we know Rhino's got 5 attack plus whatever boost card he gets. So I am not going to defend. So what I can do, I've got actually 2 defense. If I go and exhaust and say Rhino hits me for 8, then this force field generator will soak up 6 of those 8, and my defense, which is 2, will soak up the other 2. And the problem with that is that come the hero phase, I'm exhausted, so I won't be able to do much, but maybe that's okay. I might just have faith in the force field generator. I'm hoping I don't get hit by too much. So let's see. Rhino gets, he's got 5 attack plus 1. So he's got 6. So there's 1 boost icon at the bottom. As you can see, the bottom of this card, false alarm. Don't worry about any of it except for that bottom right. So he's hitting for 6, which is basically taking out my force field generator. Might as well just delete that like that. But I am unscathed, and I can get rid of this attachment, because remember, after this attack, this attachment only lasts. Sorry, the charge attachment, which gives Rhino 3+ attack, only hangs around for that attack, so I can get rid of that too. Now we've got the encounter card, last one. Let's have a look. It is a side scheme. So as mentioned, you do get other schemes. If you this is a side scheme as well. It's worth 2, and the thing is, it's got a crisis icon. So the crisis icon. Sorry, let me start again. This is crowd control. So a panicked civilians crowd the area. It is difficult to confront Rhino without putting them at risk. Get the people to safety. That's the idea of this side scheme. It has a crisis icon, which means I can't take any more threat off the main scheme. I have to deal with this first. So I have to at least take these 2 threat off this crowd control before I can start dealing with the main scheme. So as you can see, some side schemes will hinder you in some way. But that is the end of that villain round. So let's try to bring Carol out. Come on, jeez. Okay, here we go. So I will. It is now the hero turn. I'll definitely bring Carol out. There she is, Carol. And she's got 2 thwart, 2 attack, and after she uses either of her basic powers, I get to draw a card, which is great. She's got 3 hit points, so she's only hanging around for a bit, but my intent is to keep her on the board. So I'm going to heal her up. And it's another thing to note is that whenever she uses her power, you can see there's a little asterisk, a little star under each of the stats. That means that's consequential damage. So if Carol thwarts for 2, then I have to deal 1 damage to her. So she can be damaged that way. If Carol attacks for 2, she gets 1 damage. But again, after she uses one of her basic attacks, she's exhausted, so she can't attack and thwart at the same time. She has to pick one or the other. So that's cool. So I'll have to pay for her 4. So I'll use 1 card, pheromones, inconspicuous, and this other resource card. You can see it's called Genius, and it's got 2 resource icons there. So that's worth 2 as well. So 2 cards that I've used plus this one, which is worth 2 resources, that equals 4. So that's Carol. Now remember, I can. Okay, well, let's go through this. I'll get Carol to deal with that side scheme. It's 2 threat, and she can thwart for 2. So I will hit her 1 damage, because 1 consequential damage to thwart. So she will thwart for 2, get rid of that side scheme. And so she's done, but I can draw a card, because that's one of her responses. After Captain Marvel uses a basic power, draw a card. So I'll draw a card. Now, since I've got 2 cards in my hand left, I might be able to use my Inspiring Presence. This is awesome. So this is a blue card. This will boost Spider-Woman, because Carol is a Spider-Woman card. So she's not an aspect card. So she doesn't boost. Captain Marvel's card does not boost Spider-Woman's stats. but I'll use Inspiring Presence because I've got now another card to pay for it. Now, this is heal 1 damage from an ally. So I'll take that 1 damage off Carol and ready it. So I will ready Carol. Awesome, huh? So Carol is up and running again. And so Carol can use a basic power. I'm going to have her hit Rhino for 2 and takes 1 consequential. And since she's used a basic power, I can draw a card. Finesse is good, so I'll hold on to that. I really can't do much. I'm just going to have to hold on to the card. It was a little bit useless, but I might as well just see what I had. Now, Spider-Woman has 2. Her base stats have gone up 1 because I used the blue card. So she's got thwart for 2, attack for 2, defense for 2. I might just have her attack Rhino for 2. So he's down to 5 points, and both Carol and Jess are now exhausted. Now, I could use Med Team and heal up Carol, but I reckon I could get 1 more use out of her because this Med Team heals 2. So I want to make the most of the healing. I don't want to just throw away 1. So I don't want to throw away 1 medical counter to heal 1 damage when it can heal 2. So I think that's the end of our round. I'll keep this card Finesse because it's quite handy. This card Finesse, which is a superhero card, if I exhaust it, I can generate a resource for an aspect card for Spider-Woman. So that's pretty handy. I'm going to try to use that. So let's ready up. Everyone readies up. And now it is the villain phase. So again, threat ticks up 1. So there's 2 threat on the scheme. Rhino now will attack for 2 plus whatever boost he gets. So Jessica's got she's got 2 defense. I can defend if I want. I might just not defend because I see in my hand I've got a card that can heal me. So I'm happy to take a hit. I don't think he'll hit me for 11. So I think I'm safe, but we'll see how much I get hit by. So he attacks for 2 plus nothing. There's nothing on the bottom right. So just 2. So Spider-Woman gets hit for 2. Carol is still safe. And now we go to the 3rd round, which is the encounter card of the villain phase. Let's have a look. And now we have a minion. This is a Hydra Bomber. And when revealed, choose to either take 2 damage or place 1 threat on the main scheme. I might take 2 damage. So I'm down to 7 hit points. But I prefer that than having any more threat on the scheme because I know again that I will heal. So that's a minion. He doesn't attack, so we have to wait again for another villain turn because he missed the attack phase. And he will attack immediately after Rhino next round or scheme. So that is done. The villains are done there, and now it's back to us. What I might do straight away is I will have Carol attack for 2, and I'll get her to get rid of the Hydra Bomber. So she gets 1 consequential damage. So she's now her hit points are down to just 1, but she gets rid of the Hydra Bomber. We get to draw a card because she used one of her powers, which is great. And now I might use Med Team. So I've got to exhaust the Med Team, remove 1 medical counter, and I can heal Carol for 2. So she's back to full health. She's exhausted, but back to full health. So that is good. She's drawn a card too. Now, what I might do is... What I might do is I want to take out one of these finesse cards. So I'm going to play finesse so I can have extra, I can generate some resources. So what I'll do is, so that's not an aspect card. It's just a resource card. I'll put that up there. I've got a resource card here, strength. It's worth 2 resources. I'll spend that to buy finesse. Next one is there's another finesse here. I could buy it, but I want to do some stuff. So what I'll do is I'll play a blue card. Oh, sorry, a green card. It's called Contaminate Immunity. Now it's worth 2, but I can heal 3 damage from Spider Woman and give her a tough status. And it will boost my stats as well because it's a green card, an aspect card. So I will pay for that with, I might just pay for it with one of these cards I have. I have another finesse in my hand. I'll get rid of that. Would like to have used it, but not in this instance. So that's 1. And I could use my finesse card, which I have in play because I'm paying for an aspect card. That's 2. So I can heal 3. So Spider Woman's back up to 10. And I'll give her a tough card, which means she takes no damage time from anything unless there's, well, that's for another day. So, okay, so she's got tough. She's up to 2 for base stats because I've used a green card. And I might just use this blue card. I can attach it to an ally. I can attach it to Carol. And the next time that Carol attacks or thwarts, it will deal 1 damage to an enemy. So just an extra way to deal damage. I'll put that behind Carol there. And I'll pay it using this 1 card here. So now my stats are up to 3 thwart, attack, and defense because I've played a green card and a blue card. That's +1, +1, plus a 1. So 3, 3, 3. Pretty good. I might then just hit Rhino for 3. Let's keep him ticking down. So he's down to 2. So remember, once he goes down to 0, we get to stage 2 of his villainness. Threat is on 2, but no one's going to be scheming other than the automatic threat placed on it in the villain phase. So that's okay. All right, I think we're good. Let us ready up. I'm so glad I've got Carol on the board. Now, what's happened is I've used up all my deck and I've had to re-top it up. So that is, you just basically reshuffle it back in, but I need to place an encounter card here. It's kind of like a penalty. That's okay, which means it will have 2 villain cards at the next at the villain phase. All right, so we are in the villain phase now. What we'll do is tick 1 threat up. So we're 3 threat out of 7. It's getting there. Rhino is going to attack for 2. Now, Jess has got tough. So I've also got 3 defense, but I'm just going to take the tough because that will keep me going. So let's see what we get. So Rhino is hitting for 2 plus there's 1. So he's hitting for 3. That doesn't matter. I'll just take off the tough. And now we get to our encounter cards. So I deal 1, and I've dealt 1, remember, because the deck ran out. So we'll have 2 to deal with. Let's have a look. So this is hard to keep down. It's a treachery card. When revealed, Rhino heals 4 damage. If no damage was healed this way, this card gains surge. So I've got to top him up 4. So he goes from 2 back up to 6. And this other card. Oh, okay. Now this is an obligation. Now each hero has an obligation that they put into the villain deck. Basically, it kind of hinders us a bit. So let me see what this does. This is called Uncertain Loyalties. We basically give it to the Jessica Drew player since there's only 1 player. It's me. I've got it. And it says you may flip to alter ego form, and I have to choose one of the 2. I can exhaust Jessica, which means just have it go on her side. Which means then if I do that, then I remove this card, the obligation, Uncertain Loyalties, from the game, which is pretty good. So it's an easy one. Otherwise, if I can't do that, if I can't exhaust, then I'll have to place 3 threat on the main scheme and then discard this obligation. So I want to get rid of this card. I think I'm able. It says you may flip to alter ego. Let's just do that. I'm going to flip to alter ego and I have to exhaust Jessica. Now I'm able to remove this card from the game. So I won't get that again. But what it does is basically it's disabled Jessica a bit for now our hero turn. She can't do much because she's exhausted. I can still play cards, but I've got Carol on my side. So it's now back to us. So we've got an exhausted Jessica. We've got Carol. Remember, if Carol thwarts or attacks, I can also, with my power gloves, deal 1 damage to an enemy as an automatic thing. Let's see what I've got in my cards here. So I've got another Venom Blast. That will deal 5 damage to Rhino. It's worth 2. Now note, it's a superpower. It's a trait called attack. It's an attack and it's a superpower, which means I can use Def Focus, which I've got as an upgrade. I can use that. I need to exhaust this, and it will reduce the cost of the card by 1, which means this becomes just 1. This is a cost of just 1. But I also have Finesse up here, which says exhaust Finesse and generate a resource for an aspect card. And this Venom Blast is both a Spider-Woman, a hero card, and an aggression card and an aspect card. So I can actually pay for that using my 2 upgrades, which is pretty handy. Or I can decide to stun and confuse Rhino again. And this is again a superpower. So again, I can just use my 2 resource generators here, because again, it's an aspect card. I've got another one here. I can heal damage. Again, it's a superpower. So again, I can pay for it using my Finesse card and my Def Focus card. But I'm really at nearly full health. I don't really need to use it. This is handy. I've got a resource card, but this Inspiring Presence again. So I can actually ready up Carol, which is pretty cool. And she draws a card. Let's deal with this first. Let's see what I can do with this. I might have Carol... I might have a thwart for 2. So she takes 1 damage because she's using one of her abilities. So she's going to thwart, get rid of 2. So the scheme's down to 1, which is quite manageable. Now remember, I draw a card for Carol every time I use a power. And also with the power gloves, I deal 1 damage to an enemy. So Rhino he's down to 5. Now, what I might do is I will use this Power of Protection card as a resource. If I use it on a green card, it's worth 2 resources, but I'm just going to use it for the 1 blue card. Hang on, before I do that, I'm going to flip Jessica over to Spider-Woman. Now, I'm going to use Inspiring Presence. It's a blue card. I'll spend 1 resource there. And so what that does is that heals Carol, heal her damage of 1, and readies her up. So she's ready to go again. Remember, I use the blue card, so Spider-Woman's stats, although I can't use the stats anyway, she's exhausted for this round. She's up to 222. So Carol is up and running again. And since she's up and running, I might have her attack Rhino for 2. So she takes 1 damage. Okay, Rhino for 2. He's down to 3 now. And again, Carol will draw a card for me. And cards are good. Remember, not only what they do, but they're good resources. So I've got more options. So she attacked for 2. I drew a card. Remember, she's got power gloves. She's going to damage 1 more to Rhino as well. So he's down to 2 now. Now, what I might do is... so I played 1. That's okay. What I might do is I'm going to use my Depth Focus. I'm going to exhaust that. I'm going to use Pheromones. It's a blue card as well, so I won't boost Spider-Woman stats anymore because I've already played a blue card. So Jess's stats are 222. But this is handy anyway. It's again, this is a superpower. It costs 2, so I can use Finesse to pay for 1 of the 2. And it's a superpower. I can use Depth Focus to pay for another. So I exhaust those 2 cards. And I can now add Stun and Confuse to Rhino, which is pretty good. So he's stunned. So I know next round he won't do much at all. Okay, so that leaves me with I've still got some stuff here that I can that I can use. Okay, what I'm going to do, it's a bit unorthodox. I might just use contaminant. So I'm going to play the green card. I can heal 3 and give Spider-Woman a tough status, and I've got a resource card here per 2 resources. So I'll play that. Look, my maximum is 11. I'm on 10, so I can heal 1. I don't need to heal 3 because I can't. I'm already at max. But what it does, importantly, is gives me a tough status. So I'll do that, and hey, for the sake of it, why not? I'm going to play this yellow card now. So remember, I played a green, a blue, and I've got a yellow. So technically, Spider-Woman's stats now is 4/4/4, which is pretty high. And this says remove a total of 3 threat. There's only 1 threat on the scheme. I'm going to use inconspicuous to play it. I'm just going to remove 1 threat from the scheme. Okay, so there's no threat at all. We're looking good. And what I might do is then, well, this is good. So remember, again, what I might do is ready up. Sorry, I was about to say, I actually do have 4 defense. So during the villain phase, I've got 4 defense, which is pretty good. But I've got a tough status card. And Rhino's stunned. So there's no attack gonna be happening. Okay, so we're in the villain phase. Again, round 1 here. The scheme will go up 1 threat. So it's 1 out of 7. Rhino will attack, but he's stunned. So I'll just take the stun card off. And then we go into our encounter card, the villain card, and see what it does. When revealed, Rhino attacks you. Here we go. And if your character is damaged by this attack, that character is stunned. So Rhino will attack me, but remember, I've got the tough status cards. I'm glad I got that. Let's see. So Rhino will attack me for 2. I'm not going to have Carol defend. Jess is more than able to handle it herself. So Rhino attacks for 2 plus another 1 at the bottom. So he attacks for 3. But again, I've got the tough status. So all I do is take the tough status off. And that's the end of the villain phase. Pretty painless. So now let us get into our turn. What I might do, interesting. Okay, I might use finesse. It generates a resource for an aspect, and I'll use it to buy armored vest again. So I played a green, but you'll see, I'll do something a little bit cheeky. So I've got green. It will boost my defense up to 1. I'll have Carol. I'm going to have Carol. I'm going to have Carol attack Rhino. Attack Rhino for 2, but so she takes a hit. So she's taken 2 damage. She's got 3 health, so that's okay. So Rhino is hit for 2. So he actually goes on to his next card. As you can see, it's Rhino 2. It's slightly different. He attacks now for 3. His scheme's still 1, but when revealed, search the encounter deck and discard pile for break in and take in side scheme and reveal it. So there's another side scheme out here. It doesn't have the crisis icon, so we don't have to deal with this first. But what it has is the hazard icon, which means we have to deal 1 extra encounter card during the villain phase, which is never a nice thing. So it'd be good to get rid of that. So that's Carol down. So remember, she's attacked for 2. We forgot to draw a card. And she also, with the power gloves, she deals 1 damage. So I'll take 1 of the damage off Rhino. So he's hit pointer on 15 now. This is the last leg of Rhino. So if we hit him, we reduce him from 15 to 0, then we win the game. So power gloves takes 1 off. So he's down to 14. And what I'll do is I'll use one of the med teams I've got. I'll take one counter off, and I'll exhaust it, and I'll heal Carol. Heal 2 damage, so she's back up to full health again. Cool. Now I've played 1 green card, so Spider-Woman stats are 222. I'll play a yellow card, and I will use one of the cards I have in my hand to pay that. The yellow card, Inconspicuous, is like a justice card, an aspect card, but it removes 3 threat from schemes. So I'm going to remove 3 from breaking and taking the side scheme. I can really get rid of this side scheme straight away. So that's gone. So we will no longer have that extra encounter card dealt to us. Well, we never did. Got rid of it before I had a chance to. So Jess's stats are up to 333, remember, because 3 thwart, 3 attack, 3 defense, because I have played a green and a yellow card. That boosts my stats up. That's the only aspects I can play. So I might as well use it to... I'm going to attack Rhino for 3, bringing him down to 11. Now, since I have these boosted stats for this round, I have also Self-Propel Glide. This is a superpower, actually, so I can use my Def Focus card to pay for it because it reduces it by 1, Def Focus, and it only costs 1. Now, this gains... Spider-Woman gains Aerial, and it's great artwork, her just with her wings. So ready Spider-Woman, so I can ready her up, and she gains Aerial. So I might use that. I'll take that card out, Self-Propelled. I'll pay for it with Deft Focus because it's a superpower. And what I can do is ready Jess up, which means I can hit Rhino again because she's ready, so she's able to use her base stats again. I'll hit him for another 3. 1, 2, 3. Looking good. Yes, and I think we're done. Now, what I might do, a little bit cheeky, since Rhino still has his Confused card on him, and I haven't flipped yet, I might just flip to Jessica Drew. I know in Jessica Drew form, in Alter Ego, he can only scheme, and he can't because he's got Confused. So that will give us a little bit more time to get ourselves ready. I've got 2 cards left in my hand. One is the Quinn Carrier. It's worth 3. And this is a resource, exhaust Quinn Carrier, and you can generate a wild resource. So that means you can essentially generate a resource. I will keep that, and I'll just throw away this other one because I don't need that one. That was to give tough status. So I don't really need that. So I've got 1 card in hand. Let's ready up. And we get the 6 cards dealt to us. Okay, and now it's a villain phase. Step 1. Tick over 1 threat, so 2 threat out of 7 on the main scheme. It's looking pretty good. Rhino, he's going to scheme because Jessica Drew is the... because we're in Alter Ego. But I'll just take off the Confused card because he was confused. That's the most he can do when he schemes. So that's pretty painless, and we have 1 encounter card to go for this villain phase. Let's see what Rhino throws at us. It's another charge attachment. So the next time the villain Rhino will attack, he's got that +3. So he'll have 6 attack because remember, Rhino stage 2 gives 3 attack as a base stat. So that's pretty powerful. Maybe we can soak it up with a tough status or something. We'll see how we go. Okay, not too worried about it. All right, now it's our turn. Back to the hero turn. I've got some cards to play with here. I can boost Carol up. So Carol, again, she's got 3 hit points. Now there's a reinforced suit here. I can attach it to Carol and she gets 2 extra hit points. So she'll have her hit points up to 5, which makes her a little bit more resilient. I am going to do that. I will just pay one of our cards. Pay one of our cards. I'll use this one, Call for Aid. I don't need that. This card, it's for free, and I can discard cards from the deck until I find an ally. But I've already got Carol out, and she's my only ally, so the card is redundant. I can use that to spend. And what I'm going to do, just visually, I'm going to put on some counters here, some just all-purpose counters to 5 to remind me that Carol now has 5 hit points, which is awesome. Now, what we can do, I'm not afraid to flip. The alter ego going to flip to Spider Woman. Now I've played the blue card. Remember, I bought reinforced suit, so Spider Woman's stats are up to 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. And what I might do, this is, I think we're in the end game here. I'm going to buy a green card, which will boost her stats. This is the Night Nurse. It's got 3 medical counters as well. Now, if I exhaust Night Nurse and remove one of her medical counters, I can heal 1 damage from Spider Woman, but I can also take away stuff. So, say, for instance, Spider Woman was herself stunned and confused. If I use Night Nurse, she can remove any of those status cards, which is pretty handy. I've only done it basically. I've played this card to boost Jess's stats up to 3. So she's got 3, 3, 3 now. We're pretty much in the end game here. So I might have Jess hit for 3, bringing Rhino down to 5. And I have one more here. I've got the Venom Blast. Now, I could have played this first, boosting Spider Woman's base stats to 4, 4, 4, but same result. So this is worth 2. So I'm going to use Finesse as an upgrade and Def Focus to generate the resources. So Finesse to generate 1 of the resource, and Def Focus to reduce the cost of the card by 1. So in effect, I paid for it. And that is to deal 5 damage to an enemy. Rhino was on 5. 4, 3, 2, 1. Bang. He's dead. We did it. And that's it. That is a playthrough of Marvel Champions with Spider Woman. Now, it was pretty cool. As you can see, Carol, Captain Marvel, full health, had a full health. She was hitting for 2. She kept on drawing cards. She's a very powerful ally. But I built this deck in the hope to keep her around. So the likes of Reinforced Suit, which gave her more hit points, as well as Inspired Presence. I think I played that a few times. I'll bring that one out there. Inspiring Presence, which is a leadership card, and that allowed to heal Carol and ready her, which is very handy because if you can heal and ready Carol, she can go again. She can draw another card for you. So she's very useful in that sense that she kind of stocks you up with cards in your hand. And by having Inspiring Presence, we're able to ready her up and heal her and get her to draw a card again, as well as attack or thwart. So very cool stuff. I've never had this much protection before. 2 med teams almost stocked up with medical counters and Night Nurse, but wasn't needed. Too much firepower from Spider-Woman and Captain Marvel. Well, Spider Babies, I hope you enjoyed this playthrough. I hope it explained things. If you're listening, please check out the video because it might make a bit more sense when you have the cards in front of you. Incidentally, I'm using a platform called Octagon, OCTGN. I urge anyone, because I own all the cards, so I feel I've got a free conscience about using it. It is a free service, but please, if you do enjoy the game, consider buying, the pack or at least the core set, before you start playing this, or just dabble in Octagon if you want. It's easy to find. Just search OCTGN, and that will give you instructions to get started. And you can play like this. But as I said, if you want to support the game, please consider buying the actual cards themselves. Well, Spider Babies, that's it from me. I hope you enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the playthrough. It's so much fun. If you tell me if you liked it, if you want to see more, if you want to see Jess and Carol take on Venom, then I'm happy to do that. As I said, Venom is a lot more complex as a villain, way more complex than Rhino. So, but if you now kind of understand the mechanics through this playthrough with, the villain phases, threat ticking over, the attack phase, drawing in a counter card, then it will make a little bit more sense if we do a playthrough with Venom. So yeah, let me know. Let me know if you're interested. This game is so addictive. I love it. You just, you can build different decks. I'm very happy with this Carol and Jess deck. I love having the two together, and I'm glad to see that both of them can work hand in hand to defeat a villain. That's it from me. Hopefully, we'll get Saren back soon for another episode. Again, she's just a little bit busy with some stuff that she has committed to. But I hope you enjoyed this. And as always, to know her is to fear her. Catch you later.
If you'd like to contact us with your thoughts on Spider-Woman and her amazing series, you can drop us a line at spiderwomanpod@gmail.com. We are also on Facebook and Instagram. Just search for Spider-Woman Pod or To Know Her Is to Fear Her, a Spider-Woman podcast. Catch us on Twitter at Spider-Woman Daily or on Discord, Tumblr, and Podchaser. Look for all our links to our social platforms in the show notes.
We are also proud members of The Collective, a supergroup of podcasters dedicated to covering all the characters and news in comics and beyond. Search for #TheCollectiveNet on Twitter to see the latest on all the shows, or click on the link provided in our episodes to give you a list of who's part of The Collective. Finally, please consider giving us a rating on either Apple Podcasts or Podchaser. Whether it be to sing your praises or give us pointers on how to improve the show, any ratings will help cast our web further and potentially reach out to more spider babies out there.
Thank you so much for listening to our show. We really appreciate it. Stay tuned for our next upcoming episode. But until then, remember, to know her is to fear her.
Spider-Woman and affiliated characters, stories and events are properties of Marvel Characters Incorporated. Material used and discussed within the podcast are intended for critique and review purposes only, under the fair dealing concept of the current Copyright Act. The views, information or opinions expressed during the podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of the copyright owners.